Hey folks, it's Mr. Moff. I have another 3v3 for you on the Operation Market Garden mod for Company of Heroes. We are playing today on Egletons, which is a map that is built around a 1 versus 1 map by the same name from the base game. So let's take a look at the players and get started. For the Axis, we have UK Powermax playing as the Panzer Elite. He's starting with an infantry half-track start. Looks like he's got some Assault Grenadiers and Panzerschrecks supported by a Panzer IV infantry support tank. Over here in the middle, we've got Sneakerhead also playing. He's playing as Panzer Elite Luftwaffe. He's got his Fallschirmjagers here with his FG-42, supported just by a whole bunch of Panzerschrecks. And on the left, we've got Icelandic playing as the Wehrmacht. He's got some Stormtroopers here with his Assault Gren, so I suppose he is playing Blitz. And he's got some support weapons to support his stew. On the Allies, we'll switch to their perspective here. Looks like the Allies are starting with a number of vehicles, so we'll see how that matches up against the litany of Panzerschrecks the Axis are starting with. But Vaginator starting with a Quad 50 half-track supported by support weapons. On the left, Rockfist is starting with a Staghound supported by support weapons and some Piats. And in the middle, we've got Robomen starting with a short barrel bulldozer Sherman, some mechanized infantry with Thompsons, and a rifleman. So we will go back to the vanilla perspective and get going. So the most mobile start here for sure is UK Powermax because he started with this road here and these half-tracks are pretty quick. But it looks like he's going to come to a stop and unload his infantry before he meets the enemy. A pretty mobile vehicle-heavy start for the Axis. Looks like they are going to be at a bit of an early disadvantage on the population capping, the territory capping, just because everyone else has zoomed so far ahead without capturing any territory at all. That the only territory being captured is in the middle. So we'll see how they compensate for that. I imagine they are going to just try to be aggressive at the start and take out as many allied units as they can, and then take care of the territory after that. Looks like they are planning to shift left and just triple team whatever they encountered on the left side, which is going to be Rockfist's Staghound, his machine gun here, and all these Piats. Looks like the Allies are starting to recognize this and are starting to shift left. Roboman has got his Sherman screened by all of these riflemen here. Going to run into the Fallschirmjagers, which are going to hop into this building, protect themselves against the double Quad 50s over here. But those are going to suppress these Panzerschrecks. These Panzerschrecks are going to want to get into this building, protect themselves. It looks like they will. And Vaginator's Quad 50 half-tracks are probably going to want to not hang around too long. But those Fallschirmjagers at the very least are toast, which is Vaginator's Sneakerhead's main form of DPS. Over on the left with these half-tracks, looks like UK is running circles, quite literally, around Rockfist's opening deployment. These Piats are sort of struggling to deal with all these half-tracks just from the firepower coming out of them with these Assault Grenadiers. But Roboman continuing to keep up the pressure right up on the front with his Sherman, and with the Panzerschrecks sort of pushed back. Looks like Roboman is, and the Panzerschrecks are sort of, oh I see, maybe they're prioritizing the stew. Okay. No, wait, what am I talking about? The stew is an Axis unit. I don't know what these Panzerschrecks are doing, but they need to be shooting at the Sherman. The Sherman is just sort of getting free rein to pick these guys apart. There's the first hit, second hit, some pretty decent hits. But these Quad 50s are just mincing. Quad 50s generally don't have good suppression on their own, but with the two of them together, they will definitely suppress just about whatever infantry they go up against. And the Robovend is not appearing to do a whole lot of damage against them. There goes one to all these Panzerschrecks, but Roboman is triggering the vehicle crew repairs on his Sherman and getting aggressive with his mechanized infantry, and so Sneakerhead is just going to get the heck out of there with all of his tank busters. So, kind of difficult to tell who came out on top over there. I know Rockfist took a lot of casualties, but Sneakerhead is also just about getting wiped here. So very chaotic start It does look like Roman managed to steal a pack gun, though, and that is a really big win for him. I know that he tends not to run too many anti-tank guns. So if he can inject that into his company, he is playing as armored because he has the mechanized infantry. So that will be a big help for him. Looks like everyone is just sort of regrouping at this point and bringing on their next wave of units. Sneakerhead has got a Martyr to try to counter this Sherman, but it is probably going to struggle against smart usage of this pack gun, which Rubenman is bringing into the back lines. I suspect somebody is intending to build a triage, either that or he's just taking a long way around to get it to the right side, which is where his spawn is. Looks like that is where most of his forces are going. We've got a new stew on from Icelandic. This, I think, is this is a completely fresh one, so he's got 2 in his company, which is interesting. An M10 on from Vaginator. So this will be sort of an interesting matchup, I think. The Sherman and the M10 against the Martyr and the various supporting Panzerschrecks and such. The Stew and the P4 IST generally are not a big threat to the Allied armored vehicles. Those are more infantry support units. So really the main threat here is the Martyr and the Panzerschrecks. Axis has gotten together their capping and in fact have pushed up pretty heavily on the left, but Roverman is going to get that back with his infantry here because it is not being held by anything in particular. There is a very aggressive Stuart in the backlines from Rockfist. Didn't see that come on, but these half-tracks don't have any anti-tank in them, so UK is definitely going to want to get those to regroup with the rest of friendly forces. I'm kind of surprised the Stuart is not moving to pursue. Maybe he was worried there were Panzerschrecks in there and didn't have time to look into it too closely. Here comes that Panzerschreck getting ready to set up. This is a sort of an awkward shot blocker here, so he's going to have to go the long way around to get set up here to get good line of sight on the Martyr, which is taking the opportunity to back off from the M10. Icelandic using a Sturmwagen to try to block the M10 from getting more aggressive. Here's the Stuart getting a nice side hit on this Martyr. Martyr's in a very, very awkward spot. This is a really bad line of sight blocker here, and it's just getting surrounded on 3 sides by the M10, the Stuart, the Sherman. This Martyr is toast. There it goes. I think killed by the Staghound, in fact. So that's that dealt with. And without that on the board, the Axis don't have a large amount to deal with all of these armored vehicles. They've got these Fallschirmjäger Panzerschrecks here, but they are gonna die before they get to do anything. They're being pushed around by the Sherman, and they drop the Panzerschreck, so the Allies are definitely going to want to pick that up. In the meantime, these armored vehicles are going to be allowed to just run rampant. New Martyr on from UK. Definitely anti-armor is going to be sort of the priority for the Axis until they can clear out these vehicles. Looks like the Allies did manage to get that Panzerschreck. Vaginator has that and is going to put this in this building, but he wants to be careful because the Stew will do a lot of damage to him. But it looks like the target priority is going to go after the Quad 50 for reasons unknown to me. Martyr is cloaking. And I think that might be a bug that's left over from when that used to be an ability that's not supposed to be in the game anymore. So that'll be interesting. We'll see if UK intends to try to take advantage of that. I'm not sure if the Martyr gets an ambush bonus like the Hetzer and so on does, but that's an interesting factor to keep an eye on. So there's 2 Martyrs on to try to counter all these armored vehicles, and the Stew, I guess, to try to counter the pack gun. But in the meanwhile, the Allies are just sort of taking a minute to delay, regroup, set up their tents, get their infantry in position. Over on the left, this Stuart has taken out, I think, a half-track. It's like something blew up. But this Martyr is going to force it off. That said, it's taking a lot of damage from the Staghound. Staghound's not going to stick around because of the Panzerschreck. Damage engine on the Staghound, that's a big pain. I did see some repair engineers on somewhere. Probably we're going to want to get those on that quickly, but I think it's going to go down to the Martyr. Oh yes, it is most assuredly done for. Over here in the middle, Rockfist has managed to get a machine gun in the church. which is definitely an advantageous thing if they can support it. It is a high-profile target and can be shot from pretty much anywhere in this area just because it's so tall. Though it does have this sort of territory elevation going for it, sometimes shots can collide with the territory. Over here, it looks like Rubenman has lost his pack gun to these Fallschirmjagers, so they are going to want to get that back as soon as they can. Here's more rifles coming to get it, but those rifles, without any kind of support, are going to fare poorly against these Fallschirmjagers with the FG-42s here. Especially because they're now getting a cloak, or excuse me, in cover, and they should be able to take advantage of their ambush cloak. There it is. The ambush cloak can interfere with the targeting priority of other units trying to target them. They just try to shoot them, and then they disappear and reappear again. Rubenman does have a sniper on and a machine gun, so that is going to be a very effective counter against these guys. Fallschirmjagers do a lot of DPS, but they don't have a lot of health, and so if you can lock them down with a machine gun, that's the perfect counter. So that you can then just start sniping them. Looks like these engineers hit a mine, I think, so that's unfortunate in terms of sort of trying to get things repaired. But I think these are armor advanced repair engineers. Vagineer is playing as US, so yes, those are armor doctrine advanced repair engineers, and those don't actually cost you anything other than the unlock in the doctrine ability unlock. They just get the ability for free, so losing those advanced repairs is not that big of a deal compared to losing, say, advanced repair sappers that you have to pay munitions for. This Stewart gets a good canister shot off on these Fallschirmjagers, knocks two guys off that, damages this other guy, but he takes a bad hit from a Panzerfaust for his troubles. Still, you can just pull this back, recycle and repair it. Fallschirmjagers are a big pain. If you can kill guys out of a FG-42 squad, that's always a good thing. Looks like the Axis repairs are going to be stuck on this stew for a while. We've got some advanced repairs off of these Luftwaffe ground forces. Overall, the game looks to have slowed down a little bit here, but I think the Allies are in a bit better shape. They've got this AT gun on, they've got the sniper and the machine gun and all of these fresh squads. Whereas the Axis, they've got these very damaged squads, these very damaged vehicles. And it looks like Icelandic is in fact going to bring in his basic, not super good repairs to help get this stew into action faster after setting up this repair bunker. So the stew is going to be taking a lot of wear and tear by the time it's fixed up, if it even gets to that point. But in the meantime, it is going to thwart this sort of probe by the rifles from Vaginator trying to see what's going on, and they take a lot of casualties for their troubles. Rubenman's sniper is in position to try to take some shots at things, but Sneakerhead has brought on his cloaked Kettenkrad to try to scout for it. This is a great counter to the sniper because it can find the sniper without the sniper seeing it. So if you are able to use that to reveal the sniper, you can then try to kill it. So we'll have to see how that goes. UK has some assault grenadiers in this very damaged infantry half-track. This is so damaged, these rifles could feasibly kill it, but I think the DPS on these assault grenadiers is going to be enough such that they will be fine, especially if he just hops out. But I think UK's plan here is just to try to capture this territory, and he does not have line of sight to actually see that it is blocked by these riflemen. Allies are pushing up in the middle here. This mortar half-track from Sneakerhead is in trouble, and it does go down to the AT gun from Vaginator. Vet 2 on that AT gun now. And the cloaked Kettenkrad has been found and taken out by the machine gun. Rubenman Sniper up to 9 kills now, so he's definitely sort of getting in the action, especially now that that spotter is down. There's only one Wehrmacht player on the other team. Stu goes down as well, which means that there's not really anybody that he has to worry about a countersnipe from except from Icelandic. So Rubenman, I think, is going to try to get as much mileage out of the sniper as he can. Looks like Icelandic is going to try to rush with Volks Grenadiers to try to spot and reveal and kill that sniper, but it's going to be no good against all of the fire support between the Quad 50 and the machine gun. Does get a lot of damage on the pack crew, which is no good for him, but it looks like he is going to keep that alive. Not sure what... I guess it's probably the rifles that damaged the engine on this thing. It was on low health to begin with. UK is definitely going to want to just get the guys out of this half-track and fight, rather than Risk this thing being destroyed. It is. It's going to go down. He's going to take casualties from that. Yeah, he loses a man in at least one of the squads. Yeah, he loses a man in both squads. That was really kind of sloppy. I imagine maybe he was looking at these Fallschirmjagers who were getting pinned down. Crete veterans, in fact. I think these might be Vet 5 Crete veterans. Crete veterans are very strong units, so I guess that's not terribly surprising, but it is rather impressive to get an infantry squad up to that high Vet. It's definitely at least Vet 4. I think that might be the symbol for Vet 5. So these guys are certainly dangerous, to be sure. They've got all their Vet 1 through 3 bonuses and a custom name. Ooh, these Fallschirmjagers, though, not doing super great against this Quad 50, but that Quad 50 is going to go down to the Martyr. The sniper from Robyman, up to 15 kills now, has taken a bit of damage, but he's relatively safe now with these guys pinned down by the machine gun. So he's going to be free to snipe, and these Fallschirmjagers, every guy that he loses off of this Fallschirmjager squad is a lot of manpower loss. These guys are very expensive. Munitions, too, because those FG-42s are expensive as well. Looks like Rockfist is going to put up a Bofors in front of the church. I will be very interested to see how this fares. It is a very interesting and very defensible position, but the Axis does have a mortar on, and I know with 2 Panzer Elite players, they've got to have another mortar hatch in reserve somewhere. So the Axis definitely have the tools to take care of that. Very aggressive Martyr trying to take out the healing station does get a lot of damage on it before Robyman is able to bring his pack gun back and destroy it. So that attempt is going to be thwarted for now, but at least the Axis know where this is, and if they have other tools to try to deal with it, they can. Overall, it looks like the Allies have this town on lock, especially with the Bofors here. That's going to do a lot of damage just because it has really great line of sight, just sort of on the approach. Bofors has more accuracy. The further away the targets are, it has sort of inverse accuracy here. So this is doing a lot of damage to this machine gun in the building, and the machine gun is not really doing a lot of damage to it because the Bofors does provide green cover to the crew. And so that machine gun is certainly not going to last very long. He wants to get out of there through the back door. The side door, I suppose. Is that a door? That might be a window. Is there any way out of this building? No, there's not. The only way out of that building is into the fire, so I guess he just has to hope that the mortar can take down the Bofors before the machine gun dies. The machine gun is going to die. Bofors, here it is under fire from the mortar. And it's down to 2 crew, also under fire from the Martyr. So if, excuse me, if the Axis are able to decrew this Bofors and destroy this machine gun, that will be a window of opportunity for them to try to move up and steal the Bofors and turn it around on the enemy. But it looks like Vaginator is going to get this machine gun in place in this building to stop that from happening. So no joy there. Allies are going to be able to freely recrew this when they get the opportunity with some spare infantry. There's a push going up on the right here from Robyman with his rifleman supported by the quad half-track and his sniper. Where is his pack gun? He's going to want to get that pack gun a little bit further up to support in case the Axis bring on something like a Panzer IV or some such to stop this infantry. But in the meantime, really all the Axis have is this Martyr, which is going to be bad for the quad, but not so bad for the infantry. That said, the Fallschirmjagers with the FG-42s are certainly going to be bad for the infantry. Here's the AT gun from Vaginator to put the pressure on the Martyr. Martyr's taking a lot of damage from it, in fact. I think that was a misfire from the AT gun. But the Axis slowly but surely are being pushed back. I'm actually rather surprised that these Fallschirmjagers did not do more damage to Robyman's rifles. He did almost kill off this squad, but maybe they're worried about the sniper. Robyman's sniper up to 21 kills now. Very effective use of that sniper so far. 17 minutes into the game with 21 kills on a sniper is not too bad. I imagine these have to have a grenade or something, right? That's a very aggressive play against... I see, it's being supported by the quad. But that quad is not going to be long for this world, and neither is the Martyr if this pack has a say about anything. But the pack is going for the Stew, which is probably wise, because the Stew is able to kill the pack if it targets correctly, which it does not. So both of these vehicles are going to go down to both of these anti-tank guns. And that's a pretty good position to be in for the Allies, because that's going to let them bring up any vehicles they might have, such as this Jumbo Sherman. great time to have the Jumbo Sherman on, supported by 2 anti-tank guns. That is going to be a pain in the rear end for the Axis to deal with. The Jumbo does have Jagdpanther armor, so it's going to be difficult for packs to penetrate after they've used their cloak shot. The pack does have good deflect damage, but either way, without the Martyr on the field with its lockdown, the Martyr is a good counter to the Jumbo too with its lockdown. Really high rate of fire, really high penetration. But none of those assets are on the field, and it's being supported by one less anti-tank gun now, but they still have an anti-tank gun somewhere, I'm sure. Yeah, right here. So this is going to be a good spearhead unit that the Allies are going to want to support. You don't want to send this in by itself. But if this Jumbo can take out this Panzerschreck, there's not a large amount to deal with it. It's going to go for the mortar instead. Then he's going to go for this mortar half-track. So that's what he's attempting to do here, right? He's not. I don't think he's intending to make a big push with this. He just wants to deal with this indirect fire support. I think the mortar is completely destroyed. I don't see the weapon, so he's going to take a lot of damage going for this mortar half-track. I don't think this is worth it. That goes down, but I would not trade a Jumbo tank for a mortar half-track, and this Jumbo is most assuredly toast against all these Panzerschrecks and this Tiger. A little bit of a questionable play. I think he overextended there, especially without any friendlies to support this tank. Rubenman is creeping up this pack. He wants to keep it cloaked, I think, because he doesn't want to reveal its presence. But I mean, man, he wants to get that in position soon. It is not set up at the correct angle to shoot at the Tiger, and this Jumbo is going to go down. Really, honestly, kind of a waste of a Jumbo, in my opinion. Especially because it costs more since the last time I did a cast. It got nerfed in price, and it costs the better part of the way towards a Pershing now. UK has brought on I imagine this is a Flak 88 since he's playing Luftwaffe, and the Allies know it now because Roverman has spotted it with his Jeep that he was using to capture. He's playing as armor, so his Jeeps can capture. Roverman, if he has the microeconomy to keep track of it, is going to want to look at that, and he has aggressively brought his Sherman into the backfield. That 88 is not going to get its chance in the limelight. So I suspect Icelandic is going to bring his Tiger back to try to deal with that. Over here in the middle, UK has managed to steal this Bofors. This machine gun is not in a position anymore. This is going to be a problem for the Allies to deal with. As soon as the... What is this? Well, I guess we'll never know. The wreck is destroyed. But as soon as the Axis can stabilize their backfield here, that is going to let them just use this as an anchor to push up and get a big foothold in the city. That said, there is an AVRE from Rockfist now. It's damaged, so I imagine it has fired recently, but the cooldown on these things is not terribly long. So it's going to be ready to go to knock out this Bofors pretty quickly if it is not already. Looks like that tank is retreating under its vehicle crew repairs. It's going to get away from the Tiger, although it is turning around to try to get some shots on these infantry squads here. There is an enemy sniper on. Roverman is continuing to use his sniper. There is no kills on the enemy sniper, so I suspect, despite the fact that it's damaged, it has not been revealed just yet. Bofors has taken damage, but apparently it can still be operated by one man. So it looks like the AVRE is going to have to try again after its cooldown. And it looks like the sniper from Icelandic is moving up for the counter-snipe. We'll have to see how that goes. Roverman's sniper is here and decloaked. Roverman very brazenly is just sort of using it decloaked, feels confident behind his troops, and I think that is going to be the end of it. Icelandic, well, oh, he cannot see it. He needs line of sight. So this Tiger perhaps is a way that they could get that. There's no anti-tank over here, so he could move up with that very easily. Where'd that sniper go? Here it is. Running around uncloaked. Turn on the fog of war. It's just out of line of sight. There goes the Bofors, decrewed and destroyed. Roverman trying to get this machine gun back. Damage engine on the Tiger from I'm not entirely sure what. Ah, the anti-tank gun. Those looks like AP rounds. Those are some good penetrations and good damage. So that Tiger is definitely going to want to back off. It's going to be in big trouble if it does not. There's two anti-tank guns moving up now. The sniper still firing freely. No counter-snipe yet from Icelandic. This is soaking up 7 pop, which between that and the Tiger, I mean, Icelandic has basically no field presence right now, right? He's got these troops in the back that really need to get into the action. I don't know why they're back here. Maybe they were brought on way back when there was stuff in the back. that he needed to deal with. That's coming up now, but yes, between the Tiger is down now, but formerly between the Tiger, which is 16 pop, and the Sniper, which is 7 pop, right? That is almost all of his population tied up into 2 units, which provide... I mean, the Tiger has field presence if it's supported, but if it's not, then it's really just sort of a liability. So that's down, and he's going to want to replace it with some stuff that he can actually take and hold territory with. But what he really wants to do is deal with that Sniper so he can start using his. And he was just moving at exactly the wrong moment to try to get away from these rifles. I think he could have perfectly fine gotten away with getting the counter snipe there and then uncloaking and running away under the cover of all this infantry. But that's not going to happen at this time, and this Sniper is continuing to just have a field day. This Sniper was just revealed, I think, so Rugbyman, if he's paying attention, should know that it's there. Maybe he doesn't. He's continuing to fire. Looks like the Sniper is aiming. Icelandic Sniper is suppressed from taking fire by all of the other stuff next to it. Rugbyman Sniper is backing off. Oof, if I were Icelandic right now, I would be awfully frustrated because the Sniper is, I think, taking up the bulk of his macro attention for basically no payoff. His AVRE also, I don't think, is doing a huge amount. It did help deal with the Bofors, which is good. But an aggressive play from this Hotchkiss could take it out because it's very low on health, and the Hotchkiss has abnormally good penetration for the tank of its class. With these AT guns... He's able to get around the AT guns. No, don't turn in front of it, UK. Oh, man, that was awfully close. Is he going to get out? This is a very aggressive play with an artillery unit, because this is a multi-role unit, and if this goes down, that would be quite unfortunate. And it does. Good hit from the 17-pounder. There is another 88mm flat gun coming up, this one from Sneakerhead. I think this is a little bit of a questionable position just because this might be a shot blocker. The elevation here is a little bit funky. I might have built this a little bit higher up on the hill just so that... I don't know. This isn't a bad spot insofar as like this ridge can provide some funky shot interference from tanks trying to shoot at it. But they're going to want to destroy this bit. I think this is probably technically a shot blocker. Here's the anti-sniper call-in from Sneakerhead. It looks like they sort of gave up on the counter-snipe, but Icelandic finally managed to get it. Sneakerhead congratulating him on a job finally done. Use the scout cars to reveal the sniper, get the counter-snipe. Now this sniper, backed up by the 88, is going to have a field day. He's going to be able to just use this very aggressively. Backed up by the 88 and the anti-tank gun and these Fallschirmjagers, basically very little short of a sloppy play against this machine gun, or a stray artillery shot is going to be able to deal with the sniper in this position. So he's basically just going to be able to fire freely and do whatever he wants while this situation as it is persists. And this Pershing taking a lot of damage from this anti-tank gun and this flak gun. The Allies are going to be faced with a bit of a conundrum here. They're going to want to figure out some way to deal with this 88, either that or just shift over to the left. But really, this 88 on the hill here, I don't know if it can shoot through this. It might be able to, but it definitely has line of sight down this bit here. Which means basically anything they try to do in the town over here is going to be in line of sight. I don't know if it's quite in range, but I think it is, because the range on the 88 is, to be quite honest, silly. So here comes the AVRE, and it's going to be in line of sight. So let's see if the 88 takes aim. It is not taking aim, which means I think these might be shot blockers. Okay, it looks like the 88 does not, in fact, have the ability to target that location, so that's good for the Allies. That's going to give them some options besides just bashing their heads into the 88 until they either kill it or run out of units. The Axis have put their medic half-track, one of their 2 medic half-tracks, next to this 88 to keep the crew healed up and alive. But the Allies they've really just sort of given up this town. Rockfist does have some units in the church, his lieutenant and his officer, to keep those troops alive, but the vast majority of the Allied forces are built up around here. I suspect they're just trying to regroup and heal and formulate how they want to make their next move, because this is going to be a tough nut to crack, as I have iterated on, I think, enough at this point. UK's got some armored cars in the backfield. These are the ones with the autocannon on it, so these are going to be able to deal with a lot of soft targets, but this Staghound is definitely something that they don't want to tango with. Looks like they were able to deal with this machine gun in this bank here, or whatever this building is. Bank. So that is a little bit an obstacle out of the way for the infantry for now, but this Staghound, I don't think there's a counter for UK has this Panzerschreck here. If UK sticks this Panzerschreck in a building and then puts his troops around it, they will be protected against that Staghound. Over here on the right, it looks like Vaginator has pushed up with his jeeps for, I guess, to kill the sniper. I don't know if the sniper is still around. Let's switch to Icelandic's position and see if we can look at his units. The sniper does appear to be dead. So that's that out of the way. A successful anti-sniper deployment from Vaginator. And furthermore, all these armored cars are going to spot for the 88 to destroy that anti-tank on. That's a bit of a problem for Robyman, who does not have any anti-tank assets on at this time. And if he's lost a whole bunch of tanks, he might be running dry on them. I believe Robyman does... he's got this AD gun here, so it's not the end of the world. But, oh, he's got the Pershing. What am I worried about? The Pershing is still pretty banged up. But he's okay on anti-tank for now, so I stand corrected. But the Allies are definitely on the back foot at this point. The Axis have sort of taken command of the battlefield here, using the 88 as their foundation, and they have now pushed the Allies back to a position where they are losing population. UK Paramax using this Kettenkrad to hold this territory, and now they've got sort of a bit of a back cap over here. Robyman is going to send his jeep to try to counteract this, and he is certainly going to find this Kettenkrad. This Kettenkrad is not long for this world if it doesn't move, which it is going to do now. The jeep is fast enough to chase it down, but it looks like UK is investing a significant amount of forces to keep this Kettenkrad alive. I suspect that is a sign that he is running low on units and does not want to lose his mobile capping unit. So if the Allies are able to recognize that the Axis are splitting up now, this might be their time to mobilize and crush one of these two flanks. Either go and overwhelm UK, who is out of position by himself, or make a triple push into this 88 and try to deal with it. Neither of those, I think, are going to be particularly easy, because it's going to have to be a big shift to do with UK or a big push to deal with the 88. But if there is a window of opportunity, this is it. So we'll have to see if they manage to capitalize on this. Don't really like the 17-pounder position, just because its line of sight isn't super good, and it has bad accuracy against light vehicles. But, I mean, you don't want to bring it over to the right where it'll get killed by the 88. So it looks like the Allies are going to forego their window of opportunity. Maybe they didn't realize they had it, or maybe they just weren't. They didn't feel prepared to make any kind of push. But it looks like another anti-sniper column, this one from Icelandic, is going to take out this sniper from Vaginator. It is in the radius of the healing station. It's going to take advantage of that. The anti-sniper column is going to be defeated, and that sniper is going to live. So that is an unsuccessful move from Icelandic, and that is definitely something that the Allies are going to want to keep in their back pocket to deal with this 88. This is sort of their attrition tool that they're going to need to keep alive in order to whittle down the supporting assets that are protecting the 88, such as this machine gun and these Fallschirmjagers and the AT gun and so on. And once those are out of the way, then they can use the sniper to decrew the 88 gun and then deal with it. But they have a long way to go before they get to that position. And in the meantime, the Axis are making an aggressive move on the town here. They've captured the church. They're pushing back Rockfist's officers. Robyman is bringing his new fully healed Sherman up to deal with it, and it doesn't look like UK has much in the way of a counter to that, besides this Panzerschreck squad, which will not fare well against the HE power of this Pershing. Assuming that it is an HE unit, and it has 7 infantry kills, so this might be an HVAP Pershing. This might be Robyman's like sort of anti-tank tank. When you buy the Pershing in the company builder, you can choose to either get the HVAP armor piercing, which is good against tanks and weak against infantry, or the standard rounds, which are solid against tanks and good against infantry. And with only 7 infantry kills with this thing, as long as it's been on the field, I suspect this might be an HVAP tank. And without really many, if any, armored vehicles on, here's a Martyr. But that notwithstanding, this Pershing is sort of not in a position to counter much that's on the field right now. I suspect it'll be solid against the... well, I think really the HE Pershing would be better against the 88 just because it can kill the crew. That said, they did pick off a guy from this Fallschirmjagers squad, and there's not a whole lot over here to deal with this. So Sneakerhead is definitely going to be moving back until he can get his pack gun in position. If I were him, I'd probably uncloak this and move it up quickly and then cloak it again just to try to get in position faster. But the battle is definitely in a lull. I don't... The Allies have really just been sort of turtling around this position with a lot of idle units. There's all these repairs. I think that might be the Jeep that has just gone down. There's a bunch of repair units. There's this anti-tank gun, which is just sort of sitting here from Robyman. Then again, I don't think they are aware of the Martyr, so there's not really much of a need for it to be up in the front. But like, this Staghound is good to go. It doesn't need to be over-repaired like this when the Churchill is under fire. The Churchill could easily draw the fire of the anti-tank gun and the Panzerschreck, and then the Staghound could flank around the back and deal with, well, okay, I take that back. There's a lot of anti-tank over here. But regardless, there's no reason to send this Aviary up by itself. The Allies are really just sort of being very passive right now. The only person who's being aggressive is Robyman, and he is... I think in line of sight of the 88 he is. He is in line of sight and range of the 88, so really his teammates are just sort of letting him deal with this on his own. While UK makes a push on the left with all of his Fallschirmjagers. It's a lot of Fallschirmjagers. This is so many Fallschirmjagers. These are expensive troops, man. But it looks like Robyman's attack has sort of run out of steam over here, just pushing his mechanized infantry up behind this to try to get line of sight, and he is able to... So this is not the right perspective. Robyman is not able to see the 88, but it is going to let him see the AT gun, which he does not want to tango with his Pershing. 9 kills. I am fairly certain this is an HVAP Pershing, because with all the infantry it's been shooting at this point, it would definitely have more infantry kills. Right, one guy out of that squad, the regular Pershing would have killed both of them. So this is in fact an HVAP Pershing. Yeah, for sure. These Fallschirmjagers should be dead otherwise. Alright, here's the play. I think this is the play, right? Rockfist has got his Aviary around the back. It is being blocked by the... come on. Do the thing. There it is. Alright, that's out of the way. Certainly gonna die to this 88 though. Bounce. Solid. Get the hell out of here. This is the window of opportunity. The Allies need to mobilize everything they have with this anti-tank gun out of the way and this Pershing in position. They need to mobilize... Here's that grenade to try to decrew the AT gun. Doesn't quite get it. But without... man. Alright. The... My critique of the Allies right now is they're not being reflexive enough. They're not being proactive enough. Robyman is basically trying to spearhead this attack on this 88 by himself, and he has managed to take all of this territory more or less by himself, while the Allies are doing trying to hold off this probe by UK, and UK has decided to just go around and capture all this territory. So this is really just a whole bunch of pop that is doing diddly squat, to be honest. This anti-tank gun, both of these can be used to try to deal with this Martyr. All of these repair engineers, I mean... They're allied repair engineers. They don't cost anything but 100 manpower. Really, you can just use them as a meat shield for this infantry and the sniper, right? I mean, otherwise it's just sitting around. I realize the engineers are not super strong in combat, but otherwise it's just idle pop to this huge flank that's going on over here. That's... The Allies really just need to decide what they want to do. Do they want to push the 88, or do they want to push this thing over here? Because the Axis are super spread out. They're just so spread out. and the Allies are also equally spread out, but they have the advantage of sort of being pushed back in this position, insofar as that gives them sort of a tighter grouping for them to be around, whereas the Axis are spread around this huge entire front line. And so if the Allies would just sort of recognize this, group up, and push one of these two flanks, right? Deal with a Martyr or deal with the 88. I mean, the Allies have so much anti-tank. Here it is. It looks like this is the time that they're going to do this. Reutemann has just sort of left this Jeep over here to keep an eye on this, keep the territory locked down with his Jeep capping. Now they're moving over to the left to try to deal with this stuff. Here's the Gerbsjäger trying to kill the sniper. The Gerbsjäger do have the recon snipe, much like the British recon section, but it looks like they're going to get gunned down by all these rifles. But the Allies are just, it seems, grouping up to try to make a big push over here before the Axis realize that the right side is more or less undefended. So if they're going to make a move, they ought to do it soon, because the Axis are starting to probe up over here, and if they wait too long, they're going to recognize that this area is basically undefended, except by a machine gun and an anti-tank gun, which is not difficult to deal with if you have enough numbers. This Churchill is still in the field, only 9 kills, though, and almost dead. Where, big question of the day, are all of the anti-tank assets, people? This Martyr right here is easy pickings. Get this anti-tank gun in position, get the Martyr, the Pershing in position. I don't really know what to say here, people. They had everything that they needed. If they just hit attack, move, and moved forward, they could have dealt with all of that. But now they waited too long, and the Axis have realized that this right side is basically undefended and have dealt with those defenses and are now moving up. This B4IST is going to be able to take out this anti-tank gun if he targets correctly. But the Pershing has gotten in position and the anti-tank gun has turned around, so it looks like that's not going to happen for now. Unfortunately, the P4IST did not target correctly and was focused on the Jeeps instead. Jeeps are going to be pushing around these Fallschirmjagers to keep them from targeting, and the StatCon's going to have its way with that. The Axis now are, it seems, abandoning this flank and trying to move over to the right to assist with this engagement. Really, there's not a lot of coordinated play going on from both teams right now, but this really just sort of lull and delay has allowed Sneakerhead to move up his 88, which is going to be either a blessing or a curse for the Allies. If they are able to sort of take advantage of the fact that the Axis are not yet in position to support it and are able to move up and take it out, this could be their window. But with all the wear and tear on this Pershing, I don't think it's going to be it. And I think the Axis, they're now in position. They have supported this anti-tank gun. This anti-tank gun is going to be able to kill both of these vehicles. Excuse me, the 88. Oh, there's an anti-tank gun there too. And that is the narrow window of opportunity for the Allies lost. I do have the benefit of the fog of war in that I can tell what the Allies are doing, but we'll tell what both sides are doing. But really, from the Allies' perspective, they knew that there was a lot of forces over here, and they knew that all of their forces were over here, and they knew that this 88 was, at the moment, really sort of overextended. That was their window to go, right? That was when they needed to go, and that window has now passed. This 88 now has a more commanding position on the battlefield, having moved up. Axis are taking the opportunity to just sort of leisurely heal up their stuff, which I really think UK actually really ought to. I mean, these troops are fine. Get these troops up here, man. You're going to lose the 88. The Axis does have this machine gun and this locked down scout car to suppress this stuff. With the sniper in position, 19 kills. Have not been watching this, but Vaginator doing a decent job with the sniper. One more shot is going to decrew this 88, and this is going to be yet another window to move up for the Allies. They need to take advantage of it now before this gets recruited. UK doesn't want to use his Vet 5 Creed veterans to recruit this, but I mean, there's all this infantry. Any of these Panzer Grenadiers, unupgraded Panzer Grenadiers, could hop on this 88, and it looks like they're going to move to do so. This is the window of opportunity for the Allies. You need to go now. 88 is going to be crewed. This tank goes down to the anti-tank gun. This has to be frustrating for the Allies right now. I feel like they just are never able to pull together the pieces to do what they need when they need to do it. It's always one person sort of leading the charge, one person just a minute too late, and then everyone else, the one remaining person just not there, right? And I think in this case it would be Rockfist, who was sort of late in the action when these forces were getting minced, trying to push up on this 88 to no avail. Now the 88 is well supported again. Axis are going to be able to pull back and heal up their stuff, no problem. And that was just a costly attack for the Allies, where these folks who attacked over here lost a lot, and Rockfist lost basically nothing. I don't like to call out players when they're not here to defend themselves, but really, the Allies are not coordinating very well. They're not all moving at the same time when they need to move, and they're passing up opportunities to attack when, I think from their perspective, they know they have the opportunity to attack. All that said, maybe I have not been keeping an eye on the battlefield as closely as I should, because one of the Axis players is wiped out, while all three allies are still here. So maybe the allies are not in as bad of a position as I thought, but I don't think the Axis are out of this fight just yet. UK still has all of these expensive infantry. He's still got his Crete veterans with 21 kills now, and a Bren gun, for good measure. All these Panzerschrecks. I mean, these guys can easily just push up here and deal with all this. And what do they have to do with it? Rogan's got his Sherman, but that's going to fare poorly against these Panzerschrecks. Got all these rifles, but oh man, oh man. Yeah, this is very bad. Mucho mal, muy malo. Forgive my Spanish, it's been a while since high school. Oh man. Uh-oh, this could be the turning point. This could be the turning point, I think. That is a bad set of losses for UK. I don't know what he has left in reserve. He's got all these repair squads, which are basically just repair Volksgrenadiers that he can use to still fight. But that's a lot of losses out of his elite infantry. That is the bulk of his blob dealt with, and a lot of dropped weapons, too. 3 dropped Panzerschrecks, which he's going to take with these Luftwaffe squads, which are a significantly less sturdy platform. They do have the Vet to try to keep them alive a little bit. They have defensive bonuses from Vet 2 and 3. But with the Calliope on, right, the cooldown on this thing is pretty long. But if the Allies are able to bide their time, just sort of trade effectively while the Calliope is on cooldown, they might be able to do a Calliope barrage on the 88 and the units defending it, and then push up and take it out. They do have their territory pushed back in their favor to gain back the population that they have lost, and they have rapidly gained that population back. But, you know, once again, here is Robenman making a solo assault on this 88 while his teammates just sort of lollygag in the back. This Sherman, right, is Robenman's Sherman, and it's pretty banged up, but, like, if his allies are able to move in and attack, that gives the opportunity for the Sherman to also move in and attack. Here is a, I imagine, artillery piece perhaps from Rockfist. I'm not entirely sure what. But here we go. Here we go. This is it. One shot from the 17-pounder. There it is. Okay, finally. See, this is all you really need, right? You need to have everyone go together, and then you can do the thing. So, that having been removed from the field and one of the Axis players out of the way, the Allies now are in a much better position than they were before. If Rock has fire up on this lieutenant, he can gun down this machine gun. Without the 88 here, Robenman is going to get his Sherman in. Or not? Why is he backing off? There's no anti-tank here. Maybe he's worried that there's... Oh, there is. There's a pack. They must know about the pack. But a good wide flank around the pack renders that a non-issue. So I'm not entirely sure what their plan is at the moment. But sort of this surprised they don't want to try to capitalize on the 88 being down. Maybe they are so low on units. Maybe they're waiting for the Calliope barrage. But they're so low in units that they're trying to just sort of be conservative and trade efficiently. And rely on perhaps this Bofors to provide a sort of a counterplay to the 88, now that the 88 is down. And just sort of use that as their bastion. Anti-tank guns, I believe, are not so good at dealing with... Or maybe that's the Flak Vierling that I'm thinking of. We'll have to see. The packs are creeping up, so maybe that will be an engagement that we see. But this Sherman is going to come up and deal a lot of damage to these Luftwaffe squads. They do have the Panzerschrecks, which are hidden behind the repair upgrade. Holy cow, look at the damage on this Luftwaffe squad. All 5 guys are still alive. If they can get out there and get back to the half-track, that will be pretty crazy. Wowzers. That's probably the veterancy in action, right? They get some not insignificant defensive bonuses. It's not massive, but, you know, like 10% less received accuracy and so on. I mean, that, you know, when a tank is shooting at you, that can be the difference between taking a lot of damage and taking no damage. So they're going to get out of here, and they're going to heal up back to full. And that's a whole bunch of Panzerschrecks that are going to be a pain in the rear end for Rubenman, as long as he can keep these squads alive. They are a fragile platform, but it looks like UK is making good use of them in lieu of his Fallschirmjagers that all seem to have been removed from play. Here's the remaining ones. These Crete veterans up to 25 kills now. They are still a force to be reckoned with, even with only 3 guys. They still have the Bren gun. But the Allies are now just sort of coalescing around this triage center, regrouping. Rubenman has some fresh riflemen on. Oh, this is not good for these Fallschirmjagers. That is a bad place to be. Stuck in red cover against all these forces, these guys are toast. That is a big loss for UK at this stage of the game. Sneakerhead is still bringing this pack up. Oh, wow, what is he doing? This is a shot blocker here. He cannot actually shoot at the Bofors. This is not good. He needs to have this anti-tank gun here, if at all. But realistically, I don't think he wants to reveal this, because this is going to happen. This is exactly what's going to happen. It's just going to get gunned down. I think, the Allies are in a better position than I thought they were. This fighting 2-on-3 is never easy. And it looks like the Allies have quite a bit more left than I thought. Here's a fresh Churchill Crocodile. That is certainly going to spell doom for all of this infantry over here in combination with the Sherman. Even with all of these Panzerschrecks, tank shock, and pushing these troops, no go. They can't get into the building to protect themselves, otherwise they die to the flamethrower. So that is, I think, game over for UK's infantry. And I can't imagine he has too much left, just because all of his troops are so expensive. He has so many Fallschirmjagers, he's got to be running low on troops. Main gun off for the Sherman, good hit from the pack, but he is going to back out. I think the Allies, in spite of their sort of ramming their heads against the wall all game, to varying degrees, I think might have this one. Nice snipe from the pack from Vaginator. I don't see, well, I do see more new units coming on from UK Pyromax, but these are much less expensive squads. We've got a Luftwaffe squad with a machine gun and some vanilla Panzer Grenadiers. And I don't think Sneakerhead has anything left other than the healing half-track and this Panzer Grenadier. So I think I am going to speed up the thing a little bit, because I think it's really just sort of UK's troops against all the rest of this stuff. Very cheeky pack trying to kill. Oh, I like this. Very, very cheeky. There it is. But, yeah, it's really just sort of down to these guys here. And this has got to be all UK has left, because he has plenty of pop, I am sure. And against this tank, there's basically nothing to be done. And that's the video game. This Calliope brought on at the very end actually was a pretty solid tool for the Allies, because it wiping out UK's elite infantry blob. This is a Vet 4, I think? Maybe Vet 5 Calliope? Dang. Anyway, I will be honest, I'm actually rather surprised at this outcome. I thought the Allies were going to lose just because they were having such a hard time coordinating their actions all game. They were spread out, they were engaging piecemeal. One player would attack, the other players would sit back, some players would go to left and do very little, while the Axis are doing a whole lot of backcapping. While they just sort of lost a lot of units to that 88, but they managed to come out on top by, I guess, just sort of attritioning one player's units down to 0 and then taking advantage of the 2-on-3. So, well done to the Allies, I suppose, and commiserations to the Axis. That's the ball game, folks. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.